Today we're going to dive into the full story of one brave, strong and beautiful girl named Suki, the great leader of the Kyoshi warriors.
Well, you're in the right place.
We'll remember all of her difficult, not always fun, but at the same time exciting adventures that are impossible to tear ourselves away from. We'll find out her fate from the comics, as well as try to find answers to popular fan questions. Did Suki continue dating Sokka? Did she have children? And how did she die? Warm greetings to all my fire friends, it's me, MultiAlexson. To make sure you don't miss out on all the fun, be sure to watch this clip to the end. Get comfortable, grab some tutti-frutti, and let's begin.
Shh! I'm trying to watch!
Suki's stories begin on the island of Kyoshi, in a small village called Doyaji. It was here she was born, at the time when the world was at war. However, the island was separated from the rest of the world by the will of the avatar Kyoshi, so the girl's early childhood was spent in complete isolation. Despite this, Suki grew up to be a kind, positive and sociable girl who had 4 friends. Friends with whom she was as close as sisters. Moreover, these children were fascinated by the Kyoshi warriors, especially Suki, so one day the girls snuck into their training and watched their incredible movements. When the training was over, Suki declared firmly, "I'll become a Kyoshi warrior." To this, Minsya, her best friend, laughed and said that she talks about it every day. But her intentions were true. At the age of 8, Suki began her first senjutsu training to become as strong as her idols. Aside from classes, her childhood passed almost without any problems, even though there was a war raging around with the Fire Nation. All because their territory didn't have a significant military advantage and was home to only a few Earthbenders, so the island of Kyoshi wasn't attacked at all. One day, however, her village still had to face one problem. Due to a very poor harvest, Oyaji's village was in danger of starvation. On their way home from training, the girls brought up the issue. Minsya warned that the village had little food supplies, and if nothing was done, there would be a famine. In response, Suki said they'd find solution to avoid it. But the friend already knew what to do and suggested opening the borders of the island to buy goods from other nations. Suki didn't like that idea, saying that Avatar Kyoshi probably wouldn't approve of it. To stand her ground, Minsya went on and asked her friend to ask the elders for help, adding a warning that if they continued to isolate themselves, the people would suffer. Suddenly, during the conversation, Suki finds a wild plant that looks like a pea. She tells her that she knows where it grows and how nutritious it is. As a result, the Kyoshi warriors collected numerous of the plant's seeds and their food shortage problem was solved. Though Minsya still had thoughts that the borders of the island should be opened, so asked her friend to support her at the council of village elders. But Suki wasn't unable to do so. As a result, Minsya was refused and decided to leave to explore the world that had been close to her until recently. After she left, Suki became the oldest warrior in her village, and because of this she was given the new responsibility of training the younger generation, a mission that eventually made her the leader of the Kyoshi warriors. Sometime later, Kyoshi Island was visited by 3 stranger travelers, our beloved Ain, Katara and Sokka. The avatar came here to ride Corfish, and he almost succeeded. Without having time to rest from Unagi and recover from the shock, Kyoshi's warriors attack the Avatar team and take them as prisoners. Suki thought that were spies for the Fire Nation, so she interrogated them. Of course, the friends were speechless except for Captain Boomerang, who was very embarrassed to be caught by some girls.
A bunch of girls, huh? The Unagi's gonna eat well tonight.
Luckily, it didn't come to that. They recognized that the Avatar himself was in front of them, so the villagers received Ain and his friends with a great hospitality. Afterward, Sokka came to train with Suki, still haunted by thoughts of his defeat on the shore. Seeing Kyoshi warriors, he began teasing them, claiming that the guys were stronger than the girls. Suki decided to test it out and call him to a fight. In the end, she defeated and humiliated the young braggart in front of all her sisters in just a few minutes. This moment made Sokka reconsider his views on women. He apologized to the Kyoshi warriors and asked to learn their martial arts. Suki allowed him to train, but only in the traditional Kyoshi warrior form.
Bravery and honor.
Hey, Sokka. Nice dress.
Unfortunately, his training didn't last long, as the village was attacked by Prince Zuko. Going into battle, the Kyoshi warriors bravely defended their village, but the fire was stronger. It gobbled up everything in its path. Eventually, the Avatar team made the decision to leave the village to save it from Princess Zuko's insane forces. As a farewell, Sokka apologized once again, and Suki kissed him on the cheek. After the battle, Kyoshi warriors and the villagers cleaned up the rubble that was left from destroyed houses. During the cleanup, Gia, Suki's sisters-in-arms, began discussion and telling that Avatar Kyoshi was right to separate their island from the rest of the world, as the recent attack only proves that she was right. However, this tragedy had the exact opposite effect on Suki's outlook. She started to think that beyond their island, people are suffering from the war with the Fire Nation and need help. Gia explained that they're not refusing to help, they're just following the misguided rule of not interfering in the world's problems, which they created themselves. Kyoshi actions serve as a cover to avoid unnecessary complications. The argument continued until Suki finally decided to leave and follow the example of Avatar Aang and his friends. She declared they trained their whole lives for this, and called all of her sisters to come with her on this unknown dangerous adventure. Surprisingly, almost all of them agreed, except for Gia, of course. She stayed behind to protect Kyoshi Island. As their first target, the Kyoshi warriors chose to travel to Full Moon Bay, the place where refugees from various villages and towns made their way to the safer city of Ba Sing Se, as it seems to them at the time. There, Suki took on the job of guardian in safely transporting the refugees. She even once met her old friend Minxia and her girlfriend Meilin. And yes, the Avatar universe has been updated with 2 more characters of non-traditional orientation. Just a reminder that they also include Avatar Korra, Asami, Kaya, Avatar Kyoshi, and here's Minxia and her girlfriend Meilin. Maybe there's others, but I don't know about them yet. Before Suki could properly chat with her old friend, Minxia had to leave for the ferry. It was a tearful goodbye. As she continued her work, one day she met the Avatar team again. In the beginning, Sokka didn't even recognize her, because it turns out the evil cashier lady made the Kyoshi warriors take up their traditional attire and makeup. Only the magic of a kiss helped him remember everything.
Suki!
Meeting up with her friends, Suki told them her story, how and why she was here and now in Full Moon Bay. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by a worried pregnant woman who had her passports, tickets and money stolen. Not knowing where else to turn, she asked Avatar Aang for help, and without a hesitation he agreed. To reach Ba Sing Se, the team had to traverse the Serpent's Pass. Suki also didn't avoid this trouble. During the journey, Sokka did his best to protect his future girlfriend, worrying about every little thing.
Wait! Oh, never mind. I thought I saw a spider, but you're fine.
The discussion was due to the loss of Princess Yue. He didn't want to lose another dear person. Therefore, when under the light of the big and beautiful moon, Suki decided to kiss Sokka, but he was not ready yet.
I can't.
I'm sorry.
The next day, they had to face a number of not very pleasant moments. Firstly, they reached a place that was impossible to cross on foot. Only with the help of waterbending they were able to cross to the other side of the shore. Secondly, there was another danger waiting for them, a large and vicious sea serpent. In the third, Toph almost drowned. Luckily, Suki is a real Malibu Beach lifeguard. Knock out the whole situation.
Oh, Sokka, you saved me. Mwah.
All these moments were very unpleasant, but the Avatar team coped with all the difficulties and crossed the Serpent's Pass. In the end, Suki's missions ended successfully. Sokka and her friends were completely safe, so she decided to return to her sisters. As a farewell, Sokka and Suki showed everyone that their friendship had turned into something more. After a while, the young leader decided to leave the Full Moon Bay and join her sisters for new adventures. One day, the Kyoshi warriors came across a poor and battered Appa, the Avatar's flying bison, wandering aimlessly. Suki realized that he'd become a bit feral and was very wary of all humans, so she tried to be very gentle with him. They washed, fed and removed Appa's shackles, and it was like he was reborn. The Kyoshi warriors were happy that Appa would soon go to the Avatar, but their joy was short-lived. For out of nowhere came Azula and her gang. At least during the battle with the Fire Trio, the Kyoshi warriors lost and were captured by Princess Azula. Glad at least Appa was able to get away from that crazy girl. Imagine what she could do to him. After the battle, the Kyoshi warriors were sent to the nearest Fire Nation camp, where Azula learned more about her new captives. She was told that Suki was the leader of the Kyoshi warriors, and that she was dating Sokka. It was decided that the leader would be separated from her sisters and sent to the strictest prison of the time, called Boiling Rock. Before departing, she was subjected to the prince's night antics. Azula began to depress her by saying that she would be alone in prison, that her sisterhood was in ruins, and that it was all her fault. Then I also wished her to experience the harshness of prison life, where she would fight with other prisoners for scraps of food just to survive. Suki held her ground and didn't fall for these taunting and depressing words. Lastly, the princess assured that she'd find and destroy her friends. And unfortunately, these words were partially or completely true, as Zula managed to capture the impregnable city of Ba Sing Se, mortally wound Aang, and trick Zuko into abandoning Uncle, while Suki was in prison. Oh, all this was a black day in the history of Avatar.
The Earth Kingdom has fallen.
When Suki was roughly put into one of the cells, she decided to stop thinking about the bad things and focus her thoughts on training. Looking around her room, she was surprised to find a plant that she'd collected as a child to survive during crop failures. This cheered her up. Sometime later, at lunch, Suki met a prisoner named Biyu, who was a thief and was sent here because she stole the heart of a young boy whose father was a general. Of course, as a generous soul, Suki shared her nutritious vegetables with her new friend and learned from her that the food in this prison is a problem, it's tasteless, and there's not enough of it. The Fire Nation is suppressing all the prisoners in this way so they don't have the strength or desire to resist them. While Suki was listening to this, a brilliant idea came to her, and without wasting a moment, she ran to realize it. Together, they went to collect seeds of that very nutritious vegetable throughout the prison. The idea was to plant these collected seeds in a hiding place, a mini vegetable garden. In the future, the fruit from this place could feed not only them, but also all the other exhausted prisoners. Suki believed that if everyone had enough normal food, they'd have a chance to escape from this place. Later, 3 other prisoners joined their idea, and together they built a hidden passage in the laundry room that led out to a small vegetable garden where they grew an edible wild plant. After a while, Suki went to check on their vegetables, and when she saw the results of their labors, she was overjoyed. But of course, the delight ended when the warden suddenly made an unscheduled inspection of the laundry room. Fortunately, she'd been warned and hidden, so this time all was well. Then there was a small party. Suki shared the harvest with her friends and asked everyone present if they'd have the strength to escape from this place one day. To which the friends replied that yes, anything was possible in the future. Bea was impressed with how everyone followed her. They were willing to jeopardize their peaceful lives for the sake of some girl. In response, Suki explained that the community has always brought and will bring many times more benefits from working together than from working alone. If they stick together, everyone has a better chance of getting out of prison. Later, during the next meal, Suki again shared vegetables with her friends, but the small act ended badly for all the prisoners. A guard suspected something and started harassing the guy. The other inmates rebelled and started defending him. Eventually, a fight broke out, which didn't last too long. All the riders were captured and sent to the solitary confinement. Despite this, Suki kept her faith that she and the other prisoners would surely get out of this disgusting place. After a while, she was called by the warden, and as it turned out later, this conversation was one of the worst moments she'd experienced in that prison, because there, she learned how powerful betrayal can be. The warden called her in for questioning, and immediately started asking her what was in his desk. Of course, there was no response, so he continued his story and pointed out that the bean vegetables in front of him were the reason his prisoners had become too willful lately. Suki continued to excuse herself, saying that she knew nothing. In a frenzy, the warden pounded on the table and shouted, "Stop lying to me, we found your vegetable garden," and finally added, "You've been betrayed." The warden told her that one of the accomplices from whom she'd risked her life had come to him and handed her over with all her guts. With this news, Suki was taken back to the holding cell for 2 whole weeks. Once free, the first thing she did was go looking for the beach. Having finally found her former friend, Suki wanted to know only one thing: why she did it. Bea explained that she didn't care about anyone else, only herself, so when she'd choose between giving up her life of luxury or staying with Suki and the other prisoners in this hell, she chose the former. Unable to restrain herself, Suki attacked Biyu and almost threw her off the railing. Panicked, the traitor almost shit herself, but she threw her to the floor and left. Back in her cell, Suki began to meditate and repeated the words that she was not alone, and suddenly memories of her sisters appeared to her. When they were over, she stood alone in her cell again, so she couldn't stand it anymore and cried. In a moment, the spirit of Kyoshi appeared to help, assuring her that her friends hadn't abandoned her, that she was not alone, and quickly disappeared. However, her promise didn't go anywhere. A rescue team consisting of Sokka and Zuko flew to her. Of course, Captain Boomerang went to prison for a different reason, but when he couldn't find his father, by the will of fate he met Suki, and that's how her story of escape from Boiling Rock prison began. It's funny that during this meeting, Suki didn't recognize her boyfriend just as he didn't recognize her in the Full Moon Bay. Even a kiss didn't help. A minute later, she finally recognized him, cried with happiness and ran to hug him. And of course, there was a very hot kiss. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for them to enjoy this moment. There was a fight outside the door between Zuko and the guard, so Sokka had to stop it. He helped the guard capture the prince, only to not arouse suspicion on himself. Then friends worked together to develop a plan to get out of this heavily guarded prison. Captain Boomerang came up with the idea of using the iron case from the punishment cell to swim across the boiling lake. Everyone liked the idea and they set out to carry it out. However, when everything was ready to sail, Sokka couldn't escape as he hoped to meet his father in the coming days. And as it turned out later, his expectations were not in vain. On the next day, new prisoners arrived, one of whom was Hakoda. The main goal was achieved, to find his father. Of course, another problem was that they could no longer cross the lake. They needed a new plan, and Sokka did it. It consisted of one simple action: to stir up a riot among the prisoners. But he didn't know what to do next, so Suki came to the rescue. She used her skills as an Olympic gymnastic champion to climb over the wall and catch the warden. And it really helped. The team was one step away crossing the boiling lake and escaping. But Azula, she always came to the party and spoils it.
Who's that?
That's a problem.
A fight broke out and the plan almost failed. Only thanks to the help of May, who wanted to save her ex-boyfriend, they managed to escape and cross the boiling lake. In the end, Suki and her friends stole the prince's airship and went to the South Air Temple, where the Avatar team was located.
What's up, everybody?
Dad.
Hi, Katara.
Meanwhile, Azula hadn't given up hope of catching the Avatar's friends, so the next morning they found not coffee and bounce, but a crazy and angry princess. Once again, the Avatar team had to run away, but they couldn't keep running forever, so soon they made a stop. During the rest, our beloved couple decided to make a secret date in Sokka's tent. How familiar all this is. Everything was so good. Suki, full of joy, went to him, and nothing in the world could disturb them, except of course in the end of the world or an earthquake. But wait, what's this? It's the lonely Zuko who spoiled all the raspberries.
Well, hello!
After the break, Suki and her friends go to Ember Island to prepare for the great battle that will begin on the days of Sozin's Comet. While there, they not only trained, but also sometimes had fun. For example, Gona, a theater performance of The Boy in the Iceberg, written by Poon Team, which tells a story about themselves. At the beginning, many liked the play. Suki was surprised several times, laughed, and even felt jealous of Sokka when learned that he'd fallen in love with the moon spirit Yue.
You never told me you made out with the moon spirit.
Shh! I'm trying to watch!
However, in the end, almost everyone regretted going to play, except Sokka, who was happy with the special effects. At the time, the Sozin's Comet was just a few days away, and you'd think that the Avatar team would be training non-stop. Not this time though. Before the big fight, they decided to have a beach party.
Beach party!
Everyone was happy, except Zuko, of course. He's always unsatisfied. But don't worry about it, just look at the sculpture of Suki which Sokka made out of sand. What do you think? Is it 100% similar, or are there slight differences?
Is that a blubbering blob monster?
But Suki said it was very cute. Suddenly, Zuko interrupted the party, urging everyone to stop having fun and start preparing for the upcoming battle. Everyone listens to his advice and decides to train together. Suki and Sokka were the distractions. Toph was the watermelon lord, and Aang was supposed to kill Ozai's scarecrow. However, when the decisive moment came, he couldn't do it. The next morning, Suki and everyone else discovered that Aang had disappeared. In their search, Suki and Katara combed the entire island, but couldn't find the Avatar. And then Zuko suggested seeking help from his old friend, June, who might locate Aang with the help of her pet Nyla. However, instead of Avatar, who wasn't in their world at the time, she helps to find Uncle Iroh and his friends. By the way, these were all-powerful masters, who were members of the Order of the White Lotus. During the meeting, the Order decided that Suki, Sokka and Toph would destroy the Fire Nation airship fleet, a tough mission that couldn't be failed. Having successfully captured an enemy airship, Sokka came up with a plan to destroy the entire fleet by colliding his airship with others. When it happened, Suki was cut off from his friends, and Toph and Sokka were on the edge of a life and death. However, Suki didn't give up. She captured a new enemy ship and managed to return to help. Eventually, the fleet was defeated and Ozai was overthrown. The 100 years were ended, and Suki was finally able to reunite with her sisters, who'd made a wonderful new friend during their imprisonment.
We're gonna be best friends forever.
Later, together with her friends, she celebrated their victory at Ira's tea shop. Everyone was having fun, and Suki was playing Paisho with Mei, while the boomerang guy was showing everyone his painting.
Wait, why did you give me Momo's ears?
Those are your hair loopies!
A year after the war, Mei asked Suki to become Zuko's bodyguard during a period of instability in the Fire Nation's capital. She agreed to help and soon traveled to the royal palace of the Fire Nation. On their first night on duty, everything seems quiet as they guarded the chambers of Fire Lord. However, Zuko slept poorly, disturbed by nightmares. Suddenly, he ran out of the room and asked Suki and Tai Li if they had heard anything strange. The girls assured him that the whole night was quiet and offered to escort him, but he refused. Worried about Zuko, Suki secretly decided to follow him to find out what was troubling him. She witnessed him visiting his imprisoned father, Ozai, and immediately reported this to Mei. Unfortunately, Mei confronted Zuko, leading to their breakup. Upon hearing this, Suki was upset and decided to go and confess to Zuko that it was all her fault. Before they could have a proper conversation, a general interrupted with news that Earth Queen Kuei had sent troops to Yudawa. This development forced Zuko to make a decision, seeking advice from his imprisoned father. He decided to prepare the Fire Nation army for battle. Meanwhile, as the conflict escalated, Suki, Sokka and Toph joined Ain's side against the Fire Nation. The battle continued until Ain, in his avatar state, intervened to stop the violence. Zuko realized the futility of continuing the fight and decided not to heed his father's advice anymore. After the conflict ended, Suki resumed her role as Zuko's bodyguard. In one instance, under her and Tai Li's watch, the new Fire Lord arranged a date between Azula and Ozai in prison to extract information about Ursa. However, the meeting became chaotic, and Kyoshi warriors had to intervene to calm Azula down. The next day, Suki learned that Zuko was releasing Azula in exchange for help in fighting their mother Ursa. Additionally, Fire Lord invited Aang, Katara and Sokka to join this mission. When they arrived and saw Azula, tensions ran high, and a brief confrontation ensued. However, Suki intervened, preventing an immediate conflict. Sokka, overjoyed to see his girlfriend, rushed to embrace her. At the time, Aang struggled with the decision to embark on the search for Ursa alongside Azula, but he agreed for the sake of their common goal. As the friends embarked on their new adventure, Suki remained behind to guard the royal palace and its new ruler, Uncle Iroh. Upon Sokka's return from the previous mission, the couple went to the Fire Nation market and visited the Seashell Sands House of Shells, where Suki learns that as a kid, her boyfriend wanted to collect seashells. Of course, we all know that's not true. He's just a shopaholic and these seashells are just a cover.
What was I thinking? I don't need a new bag. Why'd you let me buy this?
At the shop, Suki was immediately skeptical of the owner's claim that he had the rarest shells, but not Sokka, whose eyes were already eager for them. He wanted to buy something, so when the seller offered him a special price, he bought it without hesitation and was delighted with his purchase, even though Suki laughed and teased him for being naive. A moment later, a new customer entered the store, a girl named Gia. She was fascinated by the seashells and asked the shopkeeper questions. However, Mr. Sand, the owner of the shop, dismissively waved her away, forcing Suki to stand up for the girl. Angered, Mr. Sen ordered his assistant to throw them out, stating his dislike for talkative women. And in vain, of course, Suki turned on her Kyoshi warrior skills and blew the whole thing to hell. After the battle was over, Suki left the store and went to look for Gia to get to know her better. The first question the shy girl asked at the meeting was where Suki learned to fight. Hearing who she was, Gia replied that she wanted to be so strong too, because in her town, the boys from the shell shop weren't the only ones who behaved inappropriately. Suki wasn't about teaching and helping the new generation. However, Gia wasn't confident, so to encourage her, Suki decided to tell her the story of the origin of the Kyoshi warriors. According to the story, in ancient times there was a seaside market similar to the one the girl lived in, where all sorts of villain souls roamed. When such people crossed the line, Avatar Kyoshi personally came to the market to protect all defenseless women from wicked men. Eventually, to give the women the opportunity to fend for themselves, Kyoshi offered to teach them her skills. Over several years, she gathered a small group of single women who later became the first Kyoshi warriors. To finish, Suki added that the strength that the little girl dreamed of wasn't a gift from heaven, but could be acquired and developed. These words really helped. Soon Gia agreed, and without wasting any time, Suki dressed up as a Kyoshi warrior and began passing on her legendary traditions. Sometime later, our beloved couple missed their old friend, so decided to visit Tough by phone at the Metal Bending Academy, and they arrived in time. Despite the success and development of the academy, which was facilitated by a new sponsor, Tough wasn't in the mood. To be honest, she was very bored as she finished all the challenges that always made her look forward to the start of each new day. As soon as Suki found out about it, she ordered it was time for Tough by phone to make a splash and go on a break, leave everyone and everything, and fly off with Zuko to the ends of the earth. It was a little different. She suggested Tough go to a concert of a band called Trustfully in Love, bad idea of course, whose music captivates not only the entire earthly kingdom, but also her heart. When the concert started, Suki enjoyed the music for 3 hours, while Tough and Sokka grew exhausted. Unable to bear the boredom, Melon Lord stood up and left to seek new adventures. On the next morning it turned out that during her absence, she'd found a capable boy. A Airbender is one of her new students. To this, Suki remarked that she'd certainly not have time to be bored now, and it's really true. Then, hearing that the Trustfully in Love was leaving Yudao, Suki went to see the musicians off. She was very upset and asked about their next performance. Chan told her that the Trustfully Love was no more, adding that they continued to sing songs, but not for money anymore, but just for love. After saying goodbye to the traveling musicians, Suki returned to the Fire Nation's royal palace. However, in order to relax and have fun, she again faced new challenges. Izukana, Mai's father, led the new Ozai society, whose goal was to overthrow the usurper Zuko and return Ozai to the throne. During this difficult time, Suki stayed by Zuko's side to help protect and escort his newfound family to the palace, and also assisted in uncovering the mysterious Kemirukage spirits who were secretly stealing children. It was later revealed that Azula was behind all of the chaos, attempting to turn Zuko into a ruthless ruler. But in fact she failed, and Mei and Zuko exposed the former princess and destroyed her plan. The riots were over and things were slowly getting better for the Fire Nation. It was time to relax, Suki said, and decided to meet Sokka and Yudao after a long time apart. The boomerang guy, eager to see her, rushed to the city as fast as he could, but fate had other plans. Unable to make it due to a brewing conflict between benders and non-benders in the city of Cranefish, Sokka sent a message to Suki through Haki, asking her to come to him. When she arrived in town, Sokka welcomed her with a warm embrace, and they decided to play cards. Later, Toph joined them, bringing information from Yelin, Lilin's daughter, about the location of a meeting of the rebel benders. Lilin is the leader of the rebels. Her main goal was to eradicate all non-benders from her city. After some discussion, the friends decided to attend the secret meeting in disguise. And fortunately, everything went well. With the help of Suki, who disarmed Lilin and her daughter with a chi-blocking technique, the Avatar team captured the leader of the riot. The rest of the minions, including her daughters, escaped. Then Toph suggested taking away Lilin bending, but everyone, including Suki, disagreed. Their thoughts were unexpectedly interrupted by Sada, who said that the business council had been set on fire, and Katara and Toph rushed to help, while Suki and Sokka stayed to guard Lilin. Turns out it was a distraction. Lilin's daughters were trying to lure out all the benders, so they could end up fighting only non-benders. And they succeeded. Yelin and Rue attacked the guarded factory where their mother was being held, and freed her. The beast was released, so a new wave of attacks was expected. They needed to be prepared, and Suki came in handy again, teaching all the factory workers her chi-blocking technique. Eventually, they prepared for a new attack, and their preparations proved wise. The next day, the rebel leader was preparing a surprise attack on the Avatar team. Of course, Lilin didn't know that her own daughter would betray her. Rue went to the Avatar team and told them the plan of attack. Thanks to her, they were able to prepare in advance for the defense, and eventually win. After the battle ended, Suki and her sisters, at Anne's request, stayed in the town of Cranefish, where she trained the new non-benders police in chi-blocking. Later, she stated that she would stay in the town for as long as it took. Well, what happens next? What happens to Suki after that? From the canon we can understand one thing. Suki spent most of her later life in the city of Cranefish, later the Republic City, maintaining her status as the leader of the Kyoshi warriors. But what about Sokka? Did they continue their relationship? I believe they did, and the majority of fans share this view. I understand there are many theories that they broke up and Suki got involved with Zuko. Yes, this version has its place, but I prefer the first option, where Sokka and Suki maintained their relationship. I'll provide a few arguments. In the series or comics there was no hint of their breakup. If the creators wanted to separate them, they'd have done so long ago. Also in the book Legacy that Aang wrote for his son Tenzin, it was mentioned that Suki had skills that Sokka couldn't only dream of, and together they formed an amazing team. From the final words, one can assume that Suki was with Sokka until the very last moments of her life. But why do we know nothing about their children? Unfortunately, Suki's life was too short to think about the future. In one interview, the creators mentioned that Suki died very early, but they didn't specify how early, so we'll never see her in flashbacks or something similar. But how did she die? It's definitely not a natural death, maybe while performing her duties, or perhaps an illness. All of this is fan speculation. There is no official information on how Suki died. Hopefully in the future the creators will reveal this secret. With all this, it's now clear why Sokka didn't marry anyone else in the future, and had no descendants. After losing two beloved women, he didn't want to love anyone else, and the fear of losing his second half remained with him forever. We only wanna know one thing, that even in this short period of life, Suki and Sokka were a happy couple, enjoying every day spent together. To sum up, Suki has experienced many failures and successes throughout her life. Her incredible leadership skills always helped the Avatar team overcome any challenge, whether it was escaping from a harsh prison or undertaking the most dangerous mission to destroy an entire fleet of the Fire Nation.
I'm an elite warrior who's trained for many years in the art of stealth.
I think I could get you backstage.
Friends, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to drink water, give the video a fire like and an earthly repulse in my channel and an ARE subscription. Also, I'd appreciate it if you could support me financially through the link below in the description. It can be a membership subscription, a Patreon subscription, or just a donation. Without your support, I won't be able to devote more time to my channel and make more content for you because of my main job. So even $1 is a big help in making a new video for you. Thank you. As always, it was MultiAlexson. See you, the Avatarians lovers!